Welcome to the deep dive. You know, if you've ever just been stopped in your tracks by a simple trick, something you know is a trick but still can't quite figure out immediately, you're going to love what we're diving into today. It's this object where, honestly, good old-fashioned physical ingenuity feels, I don't know, more real somehow than digital
Oh,
effects.
definitely, like practical effects in movies, right?
Very,
There's just something about knowing it's physically there.
exactly, that tangible magic. And it turns out you can find it even in, well, a watch.
That's right. And that brings us perfectly to today's focus, the Timex 1975 Enigma watch. Now, this isn't some ancient artifact. It's actually a reissue design. The original's from 75, like the name says, but they brought it back in 2024.
Okay, 1975 Enigma, got it. So what's the mission? What are we unpacking here?
We are going deep on its mystery dial. We want to figure out the secrets behind how it works and maybe why this watch, which is surprisingly affordable, actually, captures the imagination. The main thing, the hook, is this illusion. It makes the hands look like they're just floating.
Floating hands. Okay, intriguing. How simple are we talking? Because it sounds kind of magical.
It's brilliantly simple, actually. That's the beauty of it.
All right, I'm hooked. Let's dive right in. How exactly does Timex make it look like parts of the watch are just hovering in space?
Okay, so the sleight of hands, you could call it, it's really down to two core things, and pretty clever for the 70s, mind you. First, the base of the hands, the hour and minute indicators, they're painted.
Painted?
Yeah, painted the exact same color as the dial face itself. So visually, they just sort of vanish into the background.
Okay, wait, so if the base disappears, how do you see the time-telling part? And why isn't this, like, everywhere if it's that straightforward? Seems like a cool feature for the price.
Good questions. So you see the tips of the hands, these white rectangles in this case. And the second part of the trick answers your other point. There's this tiny, perfectly placed dot. It's applied to the inside of the watch crystal, that clear cover.
On the crystal itself, not the dial.
Exactly. On the inside of the high-domed acrylic crystal. And that little dot sits right over the center post where the hands are actually physically attached. So from a normal distance, lifting your wrist.
Arm's length.
Right. From that perspective, what you see are these two white rectangles and maybe a colored dot for the second hand, just seemingly floating, orbiting this blank space in the middle.
Wow. Okay. That is simple, but effective. It's not some crazy gear mechanism. It's just paint in a dot.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
The real genius isn't complexity here. It's cost-effective simplicity. Nailing that illusion with optics and paint, especially at this price point, that's smart engineering.
That really does mess with your brain a bit, doesn't it? But you mentioned viewing distance, so if I look really close, does the magic, like, disappear? Does knowing the trick ruin it?
That's fair. And yeah, if you get really close or the light hits it just right, you might kind of see the painted parts or figure out the dot thing.
Yeah.
But honestly, I don't think it diminishes the appeal. It's almost cooler because you know how simple it is. The cleverness is the magic, not necessarily keeping it a total secret forever.
I see what you mean. The appreciation shifts from how to, wow, that's smart.
Exactly. It's that little moment of,
Yeah.
aha, that's how they did it. That
Yeah.
makes it charming.
And you mentioned the crystal. Is it just the dot, or does the rest of the watch design play into this?
Oh, absolutely. It's not just the dial. The whole physical form of the watch is in on the act. It's really well thought out considering how we perceive things. You've got this concave, cushion-shaped steel case.
Concave, so it curves inwards?
Yeah, the top surface does. And that slight curve plays tricks with the light reflection, making it kind of hard to pin down the exact shape sometimes. And then there's that high-domed acrylic crystal we talked about. It's not just flat glass. That dome adds its own bit of light bending and distortion, especially when you see it from an angle, which, again,
is how you usually look at your watch.
precisely. They designed it for the real world, for how it's actually going to be seen day to day,
Yeah.
not for staring at it under a microscope.
That is really thoughtful design. Planning for the typical use case. So this 1975 Enigma, the 2024 reissue, what versions are out there now?
Well, the first one they brought back in 2024 was very true to the original. It had a blue dial, came on a steel flat link bracelet, very 70s.
Okay, the classic look.
Right. But since then, they've added two more dial colors. There's a black dial version and a green dial version. They all keep those signature white rectangle tips for the hour and minute hands. The difference is mainly the dial color and the seconds hand dot.
Oh. What colors are the dots?
On the green dial, the seconds dot is yellow. And on the black dial, it's this pale blue color.
Pale blue. Hang on. I think I read something. Someone calls it a pale blue dot reference. Is that?
That's exactly it. Spot on. It's a deliberate homage to Carl Sagan and the Voyager 1 photo of Earth.
No way. That's fantastic. Such a subtle, clever little detail adds another layer entirely.
It really does. It's a nice touch for those who know the reference.
Yeah.
And speaking of changing things up, the straps make a huge difference too. The original blue comes on that 70s metal bracelet, but the black dial version, you can get that on a quick release black leather strap, feels much more modern, less dated.
Yeah, leather definitely changes the vibe.
Totally. And there's also a nylon NATO strap option, gives it a sportier look. The green dial, that one actually only comes on a green and black NATO strap. So it's the most, colorful and casual of the bunch.
It's amazing how just changing the strap can completely transform the feel of the same watch head, from retro to modern to sporty. And you mentioned affordability. What are we talking price-wise? Because mystery dials usually see those on much, much pricier watches, right?
You absolutely do. That's one of the standout things here. This watch comes in at just over $200, around $209, depending on the specific model and strap.
Wow, okay. For that illusion and design, that feels very accessible.
It really is, and that's why it's notable. In a world just full of digital screens and, endless customization, there's still this pull towards a clever physical trick. The Enigma gives you that intriguing dial, but it's also just a solid, good-looking watch for everyday wear. It hits this sweet spot of being retro, but also feeling kind of fresh and different.
Especially since, like you said, floating dials at this price. Pretty rare.
Very rare, mostly a luxury thing.
Yeah.
So Timex offering this, it highlights that ingenious, cost-effective engineering we talked about, plus those little details like the pale blue dot nod, the versatility with straps. It all adds up to a really compelling package.
So, thinking about all this clever physical illusion in our super digital age, what does our fascination with something like the Timex Enigma, this simple sleight of hands, really say about us? In a time when we can create almost any visual effect digitally, why are we still drawn to this tangible sense of wonder, this kind of clever physical engineering?
That's a great question to ponder. Maybe it's about appreciating the ingenuity within constraints, or just that innate human desire for something tactile, something real you can touch and figure out.
Yeah, maybe. It definitely makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other everyday objects around us have this kind of hidden design brilliance, just waiting for us to take a closer look? Something to think about.